Let's bring in my panel, Sky News host, National Affairs Editor at the Daily Telegraph as well, James Morrow, and Sky's political reporter from Canberra, Cam Redden. Well, Cam, we'll start with you if I can. I mean, he's hit the ground running, the Premier. He got sworn in today. He's already bounced the former Labor guy, and I'm not making this up. This guy's long got Labor political jobs behind him before moving into the public service to run Premier and Cabinet. He's gone and he's restructuring the front bench, the portfolios. It's the administrative orders, they call them, hugely important. What goes with what portfolio, and it's all about the legislation he's banking up. He wants it all passed by Christmas. He's bringing the parliament back. I mean, David Crisafulli means business.
It's a new government and a new start, Peter. You only get one chance at a first impression in an election win like this. And David Crisafulli, sure, he copped some flack throughout the campaign for being a small target. But one thing I guess that does do is it focuses the narrative once you finally hit the government benches. So it's no surprise that crime is by far and away the priority and that he wants to get moving to get those laws around adult crime, adult time, early intervention for youth as well passed by Christmas. That was one of his core election promises, basically a day one promise, if you like. So it's no surprise that he was wasting no time even yesterday before the swearing in, laying the groundwork for that. And I suppose, Peter, when you set such measurable targets around that, we know that number, 289,657, that's how many crime victims there were in the last financial year in Queensland. He says if he can't get that down, he'll resign. So if you hit those marks and you stay relatively scandal-free, then he's already a long way towards a second term, even though he's just got there.
And James, my point before about preferences in the Greens, Labor out today, almost federal Labor, trying to claim this is a victory that they have pushed back on the Greens. Well, they take their preferences. The LNP put them last. The LNP preference changes. They were the game changer here. Nothing coming out of Canberra made a difference.
Well, exactly right here. And I mean, it's all very well and good for them to talk tough about this sort of thing, Peter. But when it comes down to it, you know, they will take those preferences. And we know that we basically have the Greens and Labor in kind of an informal coalition already for all the, you know, muscular, hairy-chested talk by Anthony Albanese about the Greens. They're very much peas in a pod here. So come the next election, I would love to see them take the lesson of this election, which is that, you know, you don't need the Greens if you stand up to them. Most people actually reject what the Greens are, and particularly what they've become over the last year or so, which is just, you know, I think abhorrent to most people. But we won't see that sort of spine. We won't see that sort of backbone, I'm afraid.
Just quickly, Cam, Stephen Miles looks like he'll stay on. There was some talk of an open vote or a challenge, but Cameron Dick now seems to have pulled out. And the unions, Gary Bullock in particular, he's a heavyweight up there. He's the guy, they say, that pushed out Anastasia Palaszczuk for Miles. He's now putting Miles under pressure to dump Cameron Dick. I mean, it was a terribly ungracious speech we saw on Saturday night from the then Premier. He had to eat humble pie yesterday, but it looks like he's here to stay.
It almost felt like we'd been taken back in time in the DeLorean, Peter, and we were watching the Labor launch rather than what was supposed to be a concession speech, because it seemed like one of the first things you learn when you're doing public speaking, or if you're a comedian or in whatever public capacity, you talk to your audience. And those speeches, whether they're concessions or victory speeches or whatever, they're speeches to the people, to the voters, to Queenslanders, whereas that really sounded like the kind of speech that was designed for behind closed doors for the Labor faithful to say, hey, I'm a fighter, give me another go at this in 4 years' time. So it just didn't really fit the occasion. Not to mention there was no actual concession, of course, Peter, either. But it looks like Stephen Miles did enough to keep himself around for now. See how he goes in a couple of years' time and whether those polls are able to narrow and if he's able to sort of keep up that appearance that he did during the campaign to make himself look a little bit more electable and perhaps save some of the furniture on the way.